Hi guys, it's Beth from Bourbon Creek Crafts here today for my final project share for Scrapping for Less. And today I'm revisiting the October 2020 Flavor of the Month card kit and am using the tag stamp set and die set that came in the kit. It's the custom dies and the Merry Special Delivery stamp set. I didn't get a chance to play much with that stamp set when we did the kit reveal, and so I was excited to have a chance to come back and play with that. So I am making two sets of tags here in the beginning. I used the Reindeer Express tag stamp and just stamped it, used my Misty stamp positioner to stamp it on 8 different sheets of, like 8 different pieces of white cardstock. I did one on camera with you and then the rest off camera, and then I'm also stamping out the North Pole Midnight Express tag stamp and on a smaller piece of white cardstock, and I will also end up with 8 of those. And then I am going to stamp a couple more of the stamps in the set and on one of my like scrap pieces of white cardstock. And here I'm using the Merry and Bright and Warm Wishes, and I just combine them together since they would both fit on that piece of white cardstock, just to kind of make the process quicker and easier for me. And I do stamp these twice, but I only end up using one set of them when I make my tags. But I loved several things about this kit, one of which was the tag stamps and then these tag dies. So I used the largest tag die for the Reindeer Express and the second to largest tag die for the North Pole Midnight Express tags. And then I am pulling in some red and white twine from my stash. I had found this twine pack from Meyer of all place on clearance, and I love the bright red that's on this twine. I think it pops really well with the white tags. I kind of play with the twine for a bit, trying to figure out how I want to tie it off, and finally decide to go ahead and loop it through and leave the top ends open so that it can be tied onto a package later on. And so I do just tie 2 tags here on camera, and then I tie the rest off camera so you didn't have to watch that. But 2 other things that I really loved from the kit from October were the buffalo plaid, the Christmas buffalo plaid papers, and then the fact that it was a Christmas kit. Those are always my favorite. So I am going to use the other 2 sentiments that I stamped, and I'm going to pull in the white tags that came, I think, in the buffalo split level kit, and then a couple scrap pieces that I had left over in the kit. And I'm just going to trim those scrap papers down to fit the tag. And so on this buffalo plaid one, I kind of fussed with it for a while, trying to get it perfectly cut to match my tag, and then I end up coming and trimming it with the scissors anyway. So I'm going to do the same thing with this blue tree paper, and then use some art glitter glue to glue the pattern paper down to my tag. So I do try and line up like one side so that if I do have to trim the edges, I only have to trim like one side and then the top and bottom, or hopefully just the top. And then I use my bone folder to kind of burnish it down a little bit and make sure to squeeze out any excess glue so that it lays flat. And then I pull out my yellow cutter bee scissors and go ahead and trim the excess pattern paper away, and then also trim off the angles at the top of the tag. And to punch the holes for the tops of my tag, I first pull out my 1/4 inch EK Success circle punch, and it didn't leave a very clean cut on the back side, so I ended up going to my We Are Memory Keepers chomper or hole punch, and it's also a 1/4 inch, and it cut much cleaner, so I don't know why I didn't go that route in the first place. But I want to put my sentiments on the fronts of my tags, but I also want to back them a little bit. So I'm going to punch out the Merry and Bright with an old circle punch from my stash. and it's like probably close to 1.5 inches, I think is what that circle punch is. And then the warm wishes, I'm just going to trim down into more of a rectangle. And then I also want to back them with some other pattern paper, and I'm trying to use the scraps that I have. So I originally punched that blue snowflake piece there, and then I'm looking for a scrap, preferably that I could back my warm wishes sentiment on. So I decided to go with that black and white kind of diagonal plaid there. And that blue piece that I punched to go behind my Merry and Bright, it was just big enough to fit that 1 3/4 inch circle punch that I used. And so there was actually one side of the circle that was kind of flat, like it wasn't quite big enough for my circle punch. And so I did end up repunching it a new piece. Luckily I had another scrap. I ended up punching a new piece to go behind my Merry and Bright. So now I'm just adhering my sentiments onto the matte piece, and then both of those onto the tag itself. And I do decide to pull out some black cardstock scrap that I had left in the kit, and I'm just going to trim down a fishtail strip, a double fishtail strip, to go on the front of that buffalo plaid tag, just to add a little bit more dimension. So I'm adhering the circle, and on this one the circle is a little bit, just like a hair inch wider than the tag itself, but I think that's fine. You're not going to see that much of an overhang in what you do see. I kind of feel like it just adds a little bit of color to the back of the tag. And speaking of the back of the tag, I decide that I want to use the to and from sentiments that were part of the stamp set on the back of the tags. And so I do pull out my Misty positioner again, just because I have already added layers to the front of my tags, and I figure I'm going to get a cleaner stamp in the positioner, just because I can, continue to stamp it until it's, a nice, clean, crisp image, even though the front of the tag might not be flat anymore. And I fussed with the two, because at first I thought when I lifted it up, I didn't think I had it straight, and then once I added ink to it, I realized that it was probably straight to begin with, because now it was crooked. But I finally get them in the right spot and get both of my tags stamped. So now I'm going to come in and add a little bit of extra embellishment to the front. So I'm adding that strip that I trimmed down on the front of the Warm Wishes tag. And then for the Merry and Bright, I'm going to pull out the sequins that came in one of the collections. And they are a little bit of an iridescent pinkish color and white, like pink, iridescent pink and white. So you do see a little hint of pink, but I kind of think that helps soften up that crisp blue a little bit. So I was fine with that. And again, it kind of added some extra dazzle and dimension to the front of the tag. So I add 3 sequins to the front of that one at the top, 2 at the bottom. And then on the Warm Wishes tag, I end up pulling out my Vintage Nouveau drops in chalk stick and just add 3 dots on that black. But I hope you guys enjoyed these tags today, and thank you so much for your time, and I hope you're all having a very crafty day.